Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome you all here tonight, and a big thank you for standing in the rain for so long. The weather has been unkind to us, but thank you to each and every one of you for making it here tonight. We just wanted to check that you were truly dedicated to the cause, which you obviously are, and we will not disappoint you tonight. It's going to be a fantastic occasion, and it's actually the first time ever that the Yousafzai family have all appeared together on stage in the public arena to have this conversation. So it really will be an inspirational night. The first 45 minutes of tonight, we will be in conversation with the fantastic Ziauddin Yousafzai, and he'll be telling us all about the fantastic book that he has written, Let Her Fly. And we will also have Malala, who needs no introduction at all, I'm sure. If anyone in here doesn't know who Malala is, can you please get out now? Phew, I am relieved. So without any further ado, we will welcome them onto stage, and then after 45 minutes, we'll be joined by the whole family, and then there'll be some question and answers that have been sent in by social media users and Malala fans. And tonight, you will all become Ziauddin Yousafzai fans as well. So please, put your hands together and give a massive welcome to Ziauddin Yousafzai and Malala Yousafzai. That was quite a reception, and quite rightly so. It's fantastic to have you both here tonight, and we're going to be talking about your new book, which is out, Let Her Fly, A Father's Journey and the Fight for Equality. Now, I think most people in here, this room, will already know Malala's story, and indeed, we've followed Malala's story throughout our lives. I said to Malala, I feel like I know you, and having read Ziauddin's book, I also feel like I know him too. But there's so many questions that I wanted to ask, and I'm sure there's so much that everyone in this audience wants to hear. So Malala's story has already been told through her fantastic book and the documentary. How did the idea for this unique perspective, a father's view, come about?
Thank you. Thank you so much. If you don't mind, first of all, I must stand to honor you. I know that you waited in long queues outside here for a long time on a very rainy day. I say you thank you. I say you welcome on this night with our family. And before moving forward on the Q&A, I must recognize the presence of Louis Carpenter, who is the co-author of my book. Louis Carpenter, please stand.
It was funny because we were chatting earlier, and Ziauddin says, without Louise, I wouldn't have been able to say the story in a book. Every story I tell can last hours and hours, and Louise has the unique magic of putting it so succinctly into a paragraph or two and capturing the whole essence of the story.
Thanks.
So massive congratulations to Louise too.
So coming back to your, to your question, that Malala had already the book she has, and why I needed to write a book. So many friends, especially Malala, told me off and on that I should write a book. And in her book, it was a father-daughter story, but I had been a son of a father, and I had 5 sisters, and I'm a husband, and I'm the father of 2 sons. So this book is more than just a father and daughter story. Yeah, that's why we wanted to share some more with the
it is indeed
readers.
And it starts earlier than Malala, because you paint the society in which you were born and you grew up, a very patriarchal society. and you had a love for education always from the beginning, and education is progress. When did you first become interested in equality and notice that this society is perhaps a bit patriarchal for your liking?
Yeah, so I grew up in a family, 5 sisters, and I could see right from the very childhood the inequality in the family, in the 4 walls, like in small things, in food, in clothing, and in the most important thing, in education. So I went to school, and none of my 5 sisters could go to school. And later in my life, like when I was 18, 19 years old, I could see that how forced marriages were happening, how honor killings were happening in some parts of the country. And I was very mindful of that discrimination, inequality. But I'm so thankful to education, that education changed me, it transformed me. And this is how that while I was hardly 20 years old, I wrote a poem about girls' rights and their empowerment. So this is how, like, I was very sensitive and conscious about the inequality in the society, and especially within family.
How was that poem received when those surrounding you perhaps didn't have the same mindset as you?
Yeah, it was received positively, to be honest, because it was a poetic expression. So this is the beauty of poetic expression, that you don't hurt people and you say things in a very nice way. Yeah. It was, yeah.
Without telling them bluntly, face to face.
Yeah, exactly.
A very clever strategy there. So did you, before, because you went on to open a school which educated both boys and girls, before opening this, were there other ways in which within your own family you sort of started your journey, your striving for equality?
Like?
So for instance, you said you had 5 sisters, but did your journey start before Malala at home ever, or were you thinking just to do this through going forward, opening a school?
I think it started long before, right. Because one of my cousin was bound in a forced marriage.
Yeah.
And then she could not come out of it. She came out of it with a big price, and she got shot on the leg, and that changed my mind as well. So I was thinking that if I'm a father one day, so I will be a different one. Yeah.
Yeah, you'll change things through your actions. Yeah. So was Malala as supportive as you were with her book when you told her you're writing your book?
She's quite busy in her work in her college, but I must say that she was really interested that I should write a book. And once the book was complete and she went through the script of the book, and she highlighted the things like she wanted to be changed a little bit, spelling, etc.
Malala became the teacher.
And then she told me that the book is beautiful. And it was really a great comment for me, because she does not praise things without reason. So I was so happy that when she said it's a great book.
Yeah. A tough customer. So was the book what you were expecting, Malala?
Well, first of all, thank you so much to everyone for coming. And as my father said, thank you for waiting in long queues in this, rain for so long. When I have been telling my father for so long to write this book, and it's because people talk about feminism these days, and we are pushing men to believe in equality, we are pushing men to do something about it, because it's not just about women's rights, but it's about human rights. And I said to my father that, you were a feminist long ago when you did not even know the word feminist, and what this feminism and this whole idea is, or what equality and this whole conversation and campaign that is going on right now in the world. I said, you took steps that many men, even in the Western countries, do not take. And so I asked my father to do this book. And then later on, when I was in college, I was doing my first year of PPE degree in Oxford, and was, a bit of disconnect developed, because when you are in college life, you're just fully focused on that. And then I found that my father had finished this copy with amazing co-writer Louise, and I read the book. I could not stop reading it. And it's like, actually, I have heard these stories many times. This is like our family story. This is my dad's story. And I was just a bit worried. I said, it could be really boring. And I have, like my own book, I have just read it once, initially when you have to approve it and, read it finally. And that was the last time I read it. And I have never touched my book again. But this one, I said, another book of the family. And then, but I really enjoyed it. And I think the story is told in such a powerful way, but also it's engaging at the same time. And it's telling about my dad's relationship with his father, with his sons, with his family, with me, with his wife. And I think it was just so beautiful to hear it from his perspective. And I did point out a lot of spelling mistakes, grammatical mistakes. But yeah, it's all fixed now. It's perfect.
After she sent it back with all the red pen and markings on it, was that a tough blow?
Thank you.
So you said earlier that you grew up, and obviously your mother was never educated. You grew up in a family of 5 sisters. Your father was learned.
Yes.
Where did your passion for education and learning first come from?
I think it came from all my parents, my mother, my father, and my teachers. I remember that how much my mother was interested in my education. I remember that they had nothing to do with the 5 daughters. And the only dream for the daughters was that they should be married as early as possible. But for me, they had big, tall dreams. And my mother, when she used to take me sometime URL to big towns, and I used to ask whose house this is, so she used to tell me it belongs to an educated person.
Right.
And within the community, she used to refer to young men who had a career and a fortune because of education.
Yeah.
And I remember my mother that late night when I used to study in the light of lantern, she used to take care of me that I may not, I should not burn myself with the light. My father was a great teacher. He had a great contribution in my education, in everything, especially the way he built up my personality. You see, I have this stammering problem, and he made me a speaker. He turned my weakness into a strength. I do stammer, but I do speak. And that is the success. And it was my father who helped me. He used to tell me that, look, Ziauddin, this world and this nature is an open book. Read it. So he was a great teacher. And then my teachers, I must say that we all have teachers, but to be honest, when we count them, there are few who inspire us.
Yeah.
So in my educational career in early times, I had 2-3 teachers who really built me, inspired me. And I remember one of them that when I spoke for the first time on stage, I could not see anything. Now I can't see you because of the darkness, but at that time I could not see because I was so
nervous.
Yes. And when I finished my speech, one of my teachers came and he whispered in my ear, Ziauddin, you spread the fire. And believe me, his words I still carry with me. So my parents, my teachers, and I myself helped myself. That's so important. Yeah.
Very much so. You said that your mother encouraged you greatly to be educated. Do you think, had she been born later or in another time, she would have been a feminist, as it were, or was she sort of a feminist born in the wrong society, perhaps?
I can't think, for her, feminism was not an idea at all. Because she was born in an age where girls were not important in terms of social life or education. So rather she was a patriarchist.
Right.
I should say that.
But do you feel from her personality, was she a strong character?
She was a strong woman in her own way, but when we talk about feminism, that is to believe in girls. And she was not that, so I should say that.
It's difficult when you're born in a society that can't allow for these things. Do you remember anything of your grandmother?
No, I think she passed away like before my dad even got married.
Yes.
And then my grandfather, he married again. So then we had like another grandma.
Yeah.
And so I do remember this grandma who's still here, and we are grateful that she's here. And so no, I have not seen the first grandma. But I think, like, I agree with my dad that she was not a feminist. And I think that's how girls are brought up in these kind of patriarchal societies, that they are told that they do not have equal rights. They're told that this is how they should be treated, and that this is okay and this is right, that they're treated this way. And I think that is a big issue, because even if you go and you tell a girl in a village where girls get married early, education is not given to them, you tell a girl that, you know, you have equal rights, you should be going to school, you should say no to any kind of injustice that you face, she will still hesitate. She will still say no, she will still not step forward, because she thinks that, you know, she is not equal to men, she does not have equal rights. And I think we have to raise awareness regarding this and tell women and girls in these societies that they have equal rights, and that they are not born in this way, that they are, you know, supposed to be called weaker than men or you know, lesser than men.
Did you feel you had any strong female role models growing up, or did your father have to take the whole burden on his shoulders?
In terms of like female role models, I had seen strong women in my society, in my community, in my street, in my home as well. Like my mother was one of them, and she was an inspiring woman. She was brave, she was bold, and she was just like she was not afraid of anyone, even like
my father.
Even my father.
Yeah.
Because you usually expect wives to be, you know, afraid of husbands, especially there and then like many people would say like, wow, how could you be so bold in front of your husband, or how could you even say something to him, how could you even disagree with him? But my mom just, she didn't care. And I think it was also because of my dad's attitude as well. If he had been, you know, if he had kept her in this fear that he was the powerful guy in the family, then she would have accepted it with the passage of time. But it was her views as well, and my father. So you have to cooperate and you have to coordinate with each other to build up this understanding. It's not like a one-way thing, and both of them contributed to it.
Well, you do talk of meeting Tor Pekai, your wife, and it's very beautiful the way you explain how you two met and got together. But one thing that is really striking is that she wasn't like the other girls, was she? She had something about her character, very subtle, that stood out for you, which is something we also see in Malala. Can you explain what that was, or how you came about? Because as you said before, arranged marriages were very much the thing when you were growing up, but yet you got the girl.
Yeah, I think she's there, and she is telling me like this, don't say anything. But if I don't say anything, it's not good, because people have come to hear something.
Good. She's the strong woman.
She's a strong woman, really, and I must say that I married her because she was so beautiful. And at that time, I was just suffering from kind of inferiority complex. I thought that my nose is very big and I'm not much tall, dark in color. I'm not handsome boy. And she was the first girl who took interest in me. And that was a huge solace. That was a huge thing, because then I felt that, okay, I'm good, I'm a man, and I'm acceptable at least. So she is really a very powerful, strong person, and she's very wise because she chose me. That's just a kidding.
You see, Tor Pekai didn't complete her schooling because She went to school and then sold her books for sweets, but education comes in many forms, and she was obviously educated enough to see that there's something in this man here.
Yeah.
I know I have like us.
She should tell her story herself, but I remember that when she left the school, she was so fond of education. I must say that she took interest in me because I was like, in a small community, I was a famous boy. Like people say, he stands first in class and this and that. I knew my weaknesses, but in community, I was very famous. So she married me because of education, that I was brilliant in my school. Yeah. So this is one thing, she was so much in love in education. And second thing, she tells me that when she was dropped from school, she left the school, she used to sprinkle ink on her clothes to look like a student. So you can imagine from that how much she was fond of education.
See, cleverness comes in many forms. Yeah. Very wise. And she also, you described in the book of how she actually said hello to you one day when it was forbidden.
Why not? This story should be told by her.
Okay, yeah. We'll save that one, for later. But you see, that takes courage and strength. And on the subject of which, you named Malala after Malala, the famous warrior, female warrior. And when she was born, you didn't know the path she'd take. Malala, for those who don't know, was eventually killed for speaking out on her beliefs. So there's some parallels between the two. So when you named Malala and when you saw this baby, you say that you saw something different in her from when she was born. Can you explain the spark and the fire?
Yeah. So long before I got married, I was thinking of a girl child, to be honest.
Right.
Thank you, boys, for coming. I love you too. That doesn't mean that I don't love you.
Hope you can take a hint.
And I was very fond and very much fascinated by the character of Malala Yousafzai. And she was a legendary Pashtun heroine in Afghanistan. Many schools and universities have been named after her. So I was thinking, even long before my marriage, that if I'm a father, father of a daughter, I will name her after Malala Yousafzai. And the reason was that she was known by her own name. She had her own identity.
Yeah.
She was not known by Mr. So-and-so wife or Mr. So-and-so daughter. Yeah. So that was the big thing. And also she raised her voice. So for the first time when I saw her and she was a newborn child, it was morning time. And when I just saw her shining, beautiful, star-like eyes, and she looked like she was born a week ago. She was not like a freshly born, like with very open eyes. I don't know why. Or I might have not seen many babies, but for me it was like an astonishing thing. And trust me that at that moment, it was the happiest moment of my life. Aww. And my heart and soul were filled with joy.
Oh, I'm welling up here. And I have to say, very much so, you're right, because you're probably known now as Malala Ziauddin rather than the other way around. So it's a role reversal. I'm still in today's society very much often introduced as my husband's wife, which is really annoying. I think I'm a person in my own right, but now Malala has actually reversed this.
I think it happened even before the attack on her. It happened long before, a year before or 2 years before, because she became an education campaigner and she became an activist, and people in Pakistan knew her and loved her.
Yeah.
So she became very popular, and when I used to go to different meetings or conferences, sometimes to schools as a speaker, so when they used to invite me, they used to say Ziauddin. They say, no, we are inviting Malala's father. And even at that time, believe me, I think that one of my biggest achievements in life is that I'm known by a daughter.
Oh.
I must say.
That's also one of your biggest achievements, Malala, though. So do you remember when you first realized your dad's dreams for you, and also that you were in a society where perhaps equality wasn't as it should be?
So me and my father were like good friends from a very long time. You know, since I came to know everybody in my family, my dad and I have been like the best friends. And I had a bit of like this kind of gap between my mom and me, but with my dad, I was always there, and we would share things. I would say any joke, anything to my dad, and we had this very good understanding. And also, I used to look up to my father. I learned a lot from him, and he would allow me to sit in these gatherings where there would be these adult men talking about some political things, talking about the economy and what was happening in the country. And usually in such conversations, children are not allowed to sit or participate. Children sometimes just bring the tea and then they leave. But when I would go and take tea, my father would allow me to sit and talk, and even allow me to question and have my own opinion. And I think just encouraging your children right from the beginning that their views, their opinion, their thoughts matter, have a big influence on their mental growth and development. So yeah, so we had this connection, this relationship right from the beginning.
And that's very empowering and confidence building, especially when you're surrounded by people that are supposed to be higher up the pecking order than yourself. Is this what helped your love of debate and public speaking?
Yeah, definitely. And I was like studying in my dad's school. So my dad opened a school in 1994 with only 3 or 4 students, and it was a mixed school for girls and boys. And I was studying in his own school because, you know, based on logic, if your own children are not going to your school, then how can you ask other children to come to your school? So we had to go there. And I used to complain to my dad, like, you know, I want to go to another school if you don't improve this thing, if you don't improve that thing. And so we used to have this like very open conversation always. And also like I felt that I was part of my father's journey and his mission, which was to empower women, to empower girls, to raise awareness, to encourage them to debate. And it was not just me who he encouraged to speak out and to debate and to have their own opinions. All the girls in my school, they were really, you know, when they first entered the school, they were, you know, reading numbers and sentences in English and like reading Urdu language. But soon, as they were growing older, they started debating. They started having their own opinion and you know, have an open conversation, including with my dad and with the school staff. So I think that's how it just started, and yeah.
And when did you realize that your voice was actually having an impact beyond just sort of Swat Valley? You were reaching out to people beyond and actually beginning to make a change. When did this come about, and how did it first sort of dawn on you?
I think, so we started speaking out like since 2007, and that was the time when the Taliban actually started their terrorist activities in Swat Valley, from targeting schools to killing police officers to killing political leaders locally in Swat Valley, and then later on like doing crazy things, from firing electricity grid station and depriving people from electricity to depriving people from water in the month of Ramadan, and so many other crazy things. And every night when you would go to bed, you would hope that the next day would be better, but the news that you would hear is that many people have been slaughtered or killed in the green square of Mingora. Mingora is the town, and that green square became known as the bloody square because there would be 1 or 2 dead bodies there every morning. And also in 2009, girls' education was completely banned by the Taliban. They announced it on the FM radio that no girl is allowed to go to school. And around that time, more than 400 schools were bombed by them. And they banned women from going to markets, from going outside of their houses. And it was just completely a time where women equality was not there, where women's independence was not there, where peace was just taken away from us. It was the worst days of our life, and it was then that we started speaking out locally, nationally as well. But I would say the time when I started writing the BBC blog and also the New York Times documentaries, and also like there was activism going within the country, but also the international media played a key role in that. And also it's not just like one day that you do something and like you see everybody responding. It's a process. It builds up with the passage of time. And initially like nobody was listening, and then the people started paying attention, and then finally the government and the activists and everybody started listening to what was happening. And peace was restored around August of 2009. So it was like the worst 2.5 years of our life.
400 schools closed, many people killed, women absolutely no rights at all. Did you fear for Malala during this time, or was it something that just got hold of you and kept going?
Yeah, it was like you are in a war, in conflict like situation. And for us it was so shocking because for me, the education of my daughter and all girls who were in Swat, especially in my school and other schools, 50,000, their education was so important. And when you work to have more girls' education and some bad guys come, they ban education. So you just, in a battlefield, you don't think the pros and cons sometimes. You fight.
Yeah.
And for me, it was so important. It was scary to speak against Taliban.
Yeah.
It was scary to stand to them. But it was scarier not to stand against them, because we could not live in that subjugation for long. How dare they could deprive us from our basic right of education and all other basic rights. So that was the situation that I spoke in. And in English they say like father, like son, but here it was like father, like daughter. I spoke, she spoke, many other people also spoke, and many were killed as well. But that was not an option not to speak, because we know, as this famous saying of Martin Niemöller, I'm forgetting his name, that first they came for the communists and for Jews, and last they came for us.
No.
For me, there was no one to speak.
Yeah.
So that is the thing that we have to speak.
Did you ever feel scared, Malala, or was it a similar sentiment? You just were in the middle of a battlefield, essentially. And were you seeing people that you knew being taken by the Taliban?
This is really interesting, because I was speaking, and she also started speaking. We were thinking that Taliban have bombed more than 400 schools, but they never have come for a child, and especially for a girl child. Also, we have cultural values. Cultural values, like in our culture, you can't take a girl and a child. I remember that in very hard days of Talibanization, in 2009, when people used to be taken from homes and killed outside the home or in a square, Torpeka used to go to the door when somebody knocked at the door, because she was sure that if somebody comes with a bad intention, if they see me, they would not attack me. So we had that respect, cultural values, not attacking a girl. But I think we miscalculated that. And when she became very popular and famous, we also tried to keep a low profile. But Malala is here. I used to tell her that, okay, when you go to stage and you speak about girls' education, don't name Taliban. And she used to go to stage and name them. She was unstoppable, to be honest. So that was how it happened, yeah.
The rebellious daughter. Did you feel no fear at all?
I think it's like easier to say now, yeah, like I was not scared, or it's to say, yeah, I was scared sometimes. I think it's kind of hard to explain it, but we had lived in that situation for more than 2.5 years, and every day was scary, and every day became so normal that if you would hear the news that nobody was shot or nobody was killed or there had not been any suicide attack, we would be saying, okay, like thank God we have a good day today. So in that situation, we just got really used to it. Even like the children who used to play like thief and police games, and like it's converted into the Taliban versus the army games, and like I would see my brothers playing on the rooftop when one brother would be the army soldier and the other one would be the Taliban, and like just the whole mindset in that valley converted into this situation that we are now in a war zone. And when you are in that war zone, you know that every day is difficult, you know that every day is going to be hard, you know that your life is at risk, but you try to stay strong, and there's just not much that you can do. By remaining silent, you're not really helping yourself. So it's important that you speak out, and we recognize that right from the beginning, that if we do not speak out, we might have to live in this situation for years and years.
Your dad does speak in his book of your amazing resilience, and in times of adversity, you said you've only seen Malala cry less than a handful of times. Do you think growing up in this situation has toughened you up?
I think it depends on what we discuss in terms of I'm not scared of anymore. I do get scared of spiders and things like that. So not in that sense. Oh, I hate roller coasters. I would never go on that. I'm really scared of them. But then there are some things which I'm okay with. And so I think it's just how you grow up and what you see in your life. I thought that, when I'm 10 years old, 11 years old, I would not be living in a situation where I see Taliban on the street. I see these men, banning women from going out to the market. Our car is stopped and asking us if we have music cassettes, or why am I not wearing a burqa? Why am I not covering my face? And telling off women that, they should stay inside the house. This was not the life that I had imagined. And just looking at what is happening right now in Syria and in other countries where there is conflict, in all those countries, there is never a point where people think that this would ever happen to them, and it does happen, and it happened to us as well. We never thought that this would happen. Swat was a place of peace for years and years and years. The Queen went there, her Royal Highness. She went there long ago. She went on hunting, and the palace where she stayed at is called the White Palace, and it's written there that the Queen once visited this place, and she did hunting. She really enjoyed her time. She called it the Switzerland of the East. It's much better than Switzerland anyway. She probably miscalculated it a bit, but it's okay. But it's the fact that we have not been in a war zone. We had not seen terrorists and anything like this before, and it just suddenly came. And in May 2009, the people of Swat had to move from their homes. We became internally displaced, so we became IDPs for 3 months. And I still remember the time when you have to pack your bags and you have to leave your homes, and you do not know where you are going, but you do know that you have to leave your home. You do know that you are not safe in your home. And there were long and long queues of cars, and people were walking on the roads, and some people had just one bag of clothes. Some people did not have even shoes on their feet. And on the roads, there were the Taliban. They were acting as the traffic Taliban, and you could see with your own eyes that you cannot live in this valley with these people who are not letting you live your life according to your choice, who are not letting you to have your freedom, to have your liberty, and for that you are sacrificing your homes because you want to come back and you want to live in peace again. But it all happened and it was just so unexpected. So again, and you see all these things in your childhood when you're only 11, you're only 12, so you do learn a lot, and we did learn a lot through that.
So you were living your life in this horrific scenario, and then 2012 came, and Malala was on the bus, the school bus. Do you remember where you were? Well, you do, I know you do, I've read the book, but tell everyone about when you first heard that there'd been an incident and what went through your head.
Yeah, it was the most tragic day in our life, and I must say that the very recollection of that day is very traumatic, to be honest. I was that day in a SWAT Press Club. I was in a rally, and we had more than 500 teachers and principals of different schools, and it was my turn to speak, so I was the last speaker, and a friend of mine just whispered in my ear that your school bus has been attacked. I got shocked, but my name was there on the podium. So I went to the podium and I just spoke for a little while, and then I said, I have to go to the hospital. When I rushed to the hospital, she was on the bed, and I just kissed her forehead and her cheek, and I said, "You are my brave daughter." These were the words that I whispered like at that time. And then you know the story that she went from hospital to hospital, and finally we came to the UK for her further treatment.
And your youngest son, Atul, was also supposed to be on that bus and actually, fortuitously, he had been being naughty that day, I believe, and was insisting on travelling hanging off the bus rather than being in the bus. So he got banned from the bus. So actually, it does sometimes pay to be naughty. Nice one, Atul. When did you find out that it was just Malala and that he hadn't been on the bus?
Yeah, I found on the way on phone, somebody told me that 3 girls have been shot, and Malala and 2 others. Yes.
Okay. And Malala, you have no recollection of any of that. What was your sort of last memory from before the incident?
So at that time we had our school exams, monthly exams, and I think it was my second day of examinations, and I had done quite well, so I was very happy and proud of myself. And I think, like as usual, you sit in your school bus, you're looking around, you are seeing these shops and like people moving around, you're with your friends, you're gossiping, you're talking about the next day exam, and that was the conversation. I was with my best friend Muniba there, and she's like the first one, like we would always fight over the first seat. At the back of the bus, so she wanted to sit on the first, and then she would save the next one for me because she was really bossy, and she said I have all the control, so she would just let me sit next to her, and I was sitting next to her, and Atul was really naughty on that day because he likes like hanging at the back of the bus. He does not like sitting because it's all girls sitting there. So he says like, I can't be like, sitting with the girls. I'm a cool boy. I'm going to be just like hanging at the back. Or the driver was insisting that he should sit like on the seat. And he was just like, rebelled and said, no, I'm going to walk on my own. I'm not listening to you. He was only 8 then, or 7 or something. And then, I was the bus, the bus driver. He's really good in like the magic tricks. So he was like using a pebble and making it disappear, and you're just saying, "Wow!" and like, "How did you do that?" And it was all going well. And then I do have like a bit of memories, but they're not really actually correct because it's just your thoughts and your dreams. Because I just thought I was in a different vehicle, and like some of my other friends got shot, but they didn't. So you have these kind of memories, but I don't really think too much about that. And then I remember getting up in this hospital in Birmingham with these doctors and nurses speaking in English, and the hospital was a really good quality one, so I knew it was not Pakistan. And NHS. And then I had, because I could not speak in the beginning for 5 days, I had a tube in my neck, so I could not even ask any of the doctors where I was, and I used to try to write with a pen so they could tell me what had happened. So when I woke up, I had just no idea what had happened. But I was just so grateful that I was alive, and I was just in this world, and that because you are it's just so hard to describe this, the mental thinking that you have been through, because the mind continues thinking, the mind doesn't stop, the mind is alive, and the thinking process that you go through, and like how hard it is to go into this induced coma and then wake up again, all these things are very difficult. And there is no pain in between, it's just a feeling that you want to wake up, but you can't. You want to just go into the real world. You're struggling really hard, but you can't. And then when I opened my eyes, like I was just so grateful that it was the real world and I was back to life. And but then my parents, they came 10 days later to the hospital in Birmingham, and initially they had some visa problems and things, and so the whole family came, and I saw all of them, and I think that was the first time that I cried. I did not cry for the first 10 days. I knew I had to stay strong. I knew that I have to stay strong so I can go out and do something and like call my parents. I thought like that so first I did not know what had happened. I just thought like maybe I got attacked or something, or someone just threw me into the river or something, or just I was thinking so maybe this doctor has found me somewhere and just brought me to this hospital. And then I was thinking maybe I could go out, and once I get better, I'll go out, I'll start doing a job, get some money, and then buy a mobile phone and then call my parents. And I was thinking that I would go back to Pakistan very soon. So then the hospital, the doctors, they arranged a phone call with my parents, and in the first two calls I could not talk, but I could hear my dad talk to me, and I heard his voice. And then on the last day when before they came, I asked the doctors, I said like, I have to call my dad, and I have something really, really important to ask them that they should bring. And I was really insisting, so they said, okay, we'll arrange the call. And I called my dad and I said, Dad, when you come, can you just please not forget to bring my physics book? And he was saying like, what, Johnny, like physics book? Like, I'm in Islamabad, and like I said, no, it's a government textbook, you can find it anywhere. And I said, I have an exam coming in March, and like I have to prepare for that. So I thought we would go back to Pakistan soon, but.
When she asked for her physics book, did you think, that's my girl?
Yes, of course, indeed.
So when did you hear that Malala had come out of the coma and that she was back with us? Who told you? Malala's, because from a long time, you didn't know whether Malala would make it. With that,
Yeah, we were being told that first thing it was hard to believe like whether she will survive or not. But some of the doctors told me that if even she survives, she might have a problem in speech, or the right half of her body may be paralyzed. So these were the things that we were very scared about. And when we first met her in the hospital, and because Malala, who left her home on 9th of October 2012 in the morning, like that smiley, beautiful girl. So when we saw her after 10 days in Birmingham, in the hospital, her head was shaven, and when she cried, so she had problem in the left side as well. And it was like very, very shocking. So we cried like children, me and Torpeke, all the night. It was very difficult.
And
but gradually the doctor told us that, and then when she started speaking and then walking, so then we are so grateful to God, to the doctors who helped.
Torpeke believed from the get-go that Malala would make it through. You once again, she was the strength behind you to some extent.
Yeah, she is a staunch believer. And when she was left in the helicopter, and the helicopter was left nearby from the nearby place, the helipad was nearby because the security forces headquarters is there. And she was standing on the rooftop, and she just spread her shawl to the God and said that we didn't take any security, God, and you have to protect her. And I want my daughter as strong as she was, as beautiful and as healthy as she was. And then I was kind of very, I'm asked this question, and you may ask it, that on the way to the hospital, I was so, it was kind of tragedy and kind of shock that even I forgot how to cry. And when I reached we went to the Peshawar to Army Hospital, CMH Hospital, and there she joined me. I had this thinking that because when something happens to our family or something happens to the organization or the school, so the first person I'm asked is myself, that what was my role, or how could I have did this thing differently that this wouldn't have happened? And I had this thinking, you may call it kind of...
What if?
Yeah, what if? And I asked Torpekai that, what do you think? And she told me that, look, you didn't give your daughter a gun to shoot somebody. You stood for the right of education. She stood for the right of education. Don't feel guilty at all. The people who attacked her, they are criminals, and they should feel to be guilty. So she's very strong. I'm so thankful to her. And after that, I never asked anyone.
You see, it's all from her mother's genetics.
Yeah.
That's where it's come from.
Yes, this is the problem. When people see her, so she is beautiful, say, oh, she's like her mother. Nobody says she's like me. It's fine, it's fine.
Well, you do say a lovely thing in that you and Tor Pakai complete each other, because you felt that you brought education to the partnership and she built the beauty.
Yeah, exactly.
And now with Malala, you've got both in one package.
Yes,
You've
thank you
sealed
so
the
much.
deal.
It's a compliment, thank you.
So you are now in this new country, totally alien. You said you'd never heard of Birmingham.
Yeah, don't say to them. Yes.
Okay.
But we didn't hear.
We won't tell Birmingham.
Yeah.
What is in the book?
Yeah. Like we know about Manchester and London and like, so Birmingham I heard for the first time when we were coming.
But now you're very appreciative to Birmingham.
Of course.
When did you realise that we're not going to be going back? We're here now and our new life is here now, and that's a big change, just inflicted on you like that.
I think, we came out of the country because of those special circumstances. Like an attack on her, and later her treatment was quite long because she had many surgeries for the facial nerve that was cut down to stitch it back, and also she had lost hearing in her left ear, so they had to install a cochlear implant. We still heard that the Taliban were threatening us and her especially. So we every day dream to go back to our country, and I tell people that sometime this was good that we visited Pakistan in March this year. And
on Malala's insistence.
Yes. And this was so exciting, and so it was a great therapy for myself and for the family, because before that, every night I used to find myself in dreams in Swat, in Shangla, talking to people. And sometime in dreams I used to tell myself that this time it's not a dream, I'm really there. But again, it used to be a dream. Yeah. So such kind of homesickness was there. Fortunately, it's gone to some extent once we visited Pakistan. But Pakistan is always a dream. We will go back to our country. We love our country. And this is our second home. Yeah. But of course, Pakistan is our first home. And we miss Swat Valley. And we want to be in Swat. If once we see that the security situation is safe for her, this time it was Malala's decision to go back to Pakistan. I wanted to tell her, oh, Jani, this is not the perfect time. Nawaz Sharif has gone, and there is Shahid Khaqan Abbasi, who was for some time the prime minister, what that is called, interim, like he came after him. So I thought that let's wait for political stability, and then we will go. And she told me, no, Abba, if you are waiting for a perfect ideal time, it will never happen, let's go. And then we had to go with her. So when she decides again to go back, we will go. And also, I think that when we were in Pakistan, in Islamabad, there was a gathering of 40 women rights activists in a room. And all of them were so happy that she was in Pakistan. And they told Malala that you don't know that how much it strengthens us, how much it helps us, and how much it gives us something that you are here in Pakistan, and we want you to be here. So also, you know that when it comes to out of school children, so Pakistan is second in number and where most of the children are out of school.
Right.
So
Okay.
it's very important that we our physical presence will contribute a lot to the country, that we may help our country to bring back 25 million girls to schools. We are doing well. I mean, the government is working and other NGOs are there. They are working, but we want really to contribute. Yes.
How was it for you going back, Malala?
So yeah, I think firstly I can't believe that we made it, and it was a very long process. We tried a few times before as well, but you know, politics, there's something happening, there's something in the news, and you feel like maybe this is not the right time. And I realized that this right time never comes, so you have to take a bold step sometime and say, okay, I'm going this time. And literally, we just got into the plane and got tickets and said, we are going to Pakistan. And yeah, and the aeroplane, it just landed in Islamabad, and just looking at the map on the screen, and actually, you know, seeing that, you know, this is the map that you would used to see when you were traveling to other countries, and you would say like, I wish the plane could land here as well one day, and it did happen. And just feeling the warmth of the air, just putting our feet on that land again, and breathing that air, it was just the most beautiful moment for us, and it will be the highlight of the year and for many, many years. And we saw our home as well. We went to walked in the same street where we used to play, my brothers and I and all our friends. We used to play hide and seek and go to school in that street every morning and play on the rooftop, and that was our house. That's where I was, that's where I was living my life before the attack, and I saw my room, my school trophies, my books, my cupboards, everything was there, because the family that is living in the house, they have secured that room, and everything is still there. So it was just reminding me of my beautiful past. Also, I met my friends and my family, some of my teachers, and it was just so beautiful to see all of them. We met more than 700, 800 people.
Yes,
that's quite a lot.
Wow.
Too many hugs and lots of prayers. Yeah.
Yeah, and we just landed at the same helipad where she was lifted while she was injured. So from there, on the same helipad we landed, and this wholeness of family, finding ourselves, it was the most unforgettable moment in our life.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
And you mentioned as well, when you were on the bus, there were two other of your school friends who were also hit, and you presumably met up with them and saw them again. Had you managed to keep in touch, and do you still keep in touch with them now?
Yeah, so Shazia and Kainat, they were sitting next to me, and they got attacked, and then after that they received their treatment as well, and they were feeling better very soon. And then with the help of Gordon Brown and some other philanthropists, and they were able to continue their education in the UK. Yeah, so Faiza Naqvi and her family helped, who's here. And so we want to thank you as well for helping them. And they studied in Wales for their high school, and then now they are in Edinburgh University. They're studying there. And they're also, activists. They're sharing their story, and they are completing their education as well.
That's great to hear. Well, now that we've got the story to you living in Birmingham, I think it's quite a fitting point to now welcome onto the stage the other members of your family. So please, along with also interpreter Umar Afridi, put your hands together for Malala's mother, Torpikai, Malala's oldest brother, Kushal Han, and Malala's younger brother, Atul Khan.
Welcome. Thank you.
We can hear Torpakai's side of all the stories now.
Thank you.
So welcome to the whole family. This is great.
We are for the first time on one stage, so thank you.
This is history.
Yeah, thank you.
Torpakai, may I start with you? Your husband so fondly tells of first meeting you, and it's very romantic yet subtle. Can you tell us your side of the story of first meeting your husband?
No, okay. Torpequera que se oca, please. Okay. Que se oca. Por Tokyo, que zagazan tenis dek.
I will write my book and then I will explain.
بابیتای مایک برای نیست آقای که خبر کن. بابیتای مایک برای نیست.
Zoka.
Alvin has said everything, so.
So the two stories match up. That's good. Torpakai actually managed to have the confidence in a society that didn't allow it to say hello to Ziauddin one day when passing, to, not even eye contact.
She should tell that story.
Yeah, but you have to wait for her book. So as well as purchasing this book up here, advance orders for Torpakai's book, please. Can I also ask, because of the cultural pressures and the society that you were in, did you ever have a preference for your first child being a boy, or did it not matter to you? So because of the cultural pressures and society, on some level, did Torpakai wish to have a firstborn as a boy? I know my parents did, for sure. Was that ever a thought, or not?
هغه وخت ډیره ګرانه وه، اوس خو هر څه چینج شوي دي. خو موږ چې کله واړه وو نو د ده چاچي وه، زما کزن وه، زه به هغې کره راتلم. نو چې موږ واړه وو د ده خویندې وې، موږ به یو بل سره هلته به موږ خبرې کولې، لوبې به کولې. هله به واړه وو، داسې خبرې پکې نه وې چې زموږ بیا واړه وشي، دندې وشي. او دا په خو کې ډېر زیات فیمس و، ډېر مشهور و. بیا په تعلیم باندې یعنې هر وخت ورته سره کتاب و، موږ له به ډېر خوند راکړو. بیا ما چې ډېر وخت شوی تېر شوی څو کاله، زه اختر و، زه خپلې کور کره راغلم، بیا زه واپس لم کور ته. دا ما له مخکې به راغی، زما سره نورې جینکۍ مې دي، زما تره لوڼه وي، کزن مې وي. نو هغې ما ته وویل چې هغه ضیاءالدین نه دی؟ نو ما ویل زه به دلته په خیر یم. نو هغې ته وویل څنګه په خیر دی؟ دا ښه خبره نه ده. ما ویل نه دا ډېر وخت وشوي، دا ما نه دی لیدلی، زه په خیر یم. نو هلته موږ ودرېدو، نو ما ته په خیر دی، سلام مې ورته وکړو. نو بیا پته نه وي د دې ډېر خوشحاله شوی یم.
We were kids, and I used to go to one of our aunt's house where Ziauddin also used to come, and we used to play as kids. But then, and he was very popular because he was very much about education, and he had a lot of interest in reading, and he always had books around him. And that was something, intriguing for me, surprising. I got interested, and then a lot of time went by, and then one day I went to my sister's house, and on my way back, I was with my other cousins when I saw Ziauddin, and I told them that I'm going to say hello to him. And they say, how come you could do that? It was unimaginable in those days. Now things have, of course, changed. But then I did say hello to him, and probably that was the moment that struck him, and then it all started.
The rest is history. So,
Can you do one thing? Johnny, if we move there and you both come, Johnny thinks that you should go there.
No,
you
it's
both.
fine, it's
No, it's fine. التقينا غير سرا.
aww.
Johnny, come go. Okay, نخلي التقينا بس.
Yeah, the ladies in the centre, that's the way it should be. Fantastic. The two strong, charismatic women.
Like my mom can speak in English as well, so if you engage with her, she will.
Ah,
Yeah.
brilliant.
What did you say?
How do you feel about living here now? And do you wish for your children to complete their education over here before going back?
كده نورا.
Yeah.
How do you feel here in the UK?
No, I miss my country. دلته موږ سیف یو واړه سبقونه وي په دې وجه خو اوس خوشحالي به موږ نه لګا دلکي ګونه ډېره ګرانه ده خو د بچو دپاره به دا قرباني ورکوو دلته به وخت تېروو
ملاله غواړي ستاسو انګریزي
دا خو ډېر دغه دي که نو دي I miss my country because the life is very important. I live here so many years. Then I go back to my country.
Yeah.
I miss my country.
Yeah, it's a massive, massive change. Atul, as the youngest, you've kind of almost lived half your life in both countries. How do you feel about going back?
I don't really remember Pakistan as much as these two do. But
Yeah.
When I did go back, I don't remember when, but I couldn't connect like they did. So I just, there's no need to laugh at me.
Please. Johnny, you look that way, please. Okay, speak.
It's okay.
No sibling squabbles on stage, please. Save it for afterwards.
طلوع.
So I feel more like I do love Pakistan. It is where I'm born and where
Yeah.
my family grew up, and I want to keep that in my heart. But as time goes by and I've gotten older, I feel like I have more friends here, I have more of a life here than I did in Pakistan, and I think I just have to like kind of live with that now.
Yeah, and And Kushal, what do you feel? Because once again, it's a different scenario for you, and you were growing up in a society where you perhaps had more rights than Malala. How do you feel about going back?
Again, thanks to my, of course, first of all, I want to thank everyone. You waited in massive lines, and I really appreciate that you guys are here. But I have to thank my dad. They built my character in a very good way that I've never felt or said like, why are you treating my sister? Like I've never felt like I should be treated better than my sister. I've always believed in equality because of my dad, because of what he has taught me. And
do you ever feel that Malala, now that she's the superstar she is, do you feel actually it's flipped in your family, and actually the boys are on the back foot now?
No, definitely not. No, she's always been my sister. First of all, she's always been my sister. First.
Yeah, of course.
And she's a her being superstar is I'm really proud of her, because the amount of support I see for her on social media and everything, it means the world to me, and she deserves the world, and she deserves everything she gets, and I don't compare anything with her, because I feel like whatever she gets, she deserves it, and I feel happy for her, yeah.
And then why do you... I think this is the time we negotiate. So why do you annoy me then? Why do you annoy me? Let's talk about it.
In here.
It's my job.
And what role do you play in this dynamic, Atul?
Oh, I get bullied by both, so I don't really have a say. I shouldn't say.
So do you boys, do you see Malala as a role model for you? Because your dad has said that you're perhaps not as studious as your big sister, and I know, Kushal, that your gaming addiction was becoming a bit of a problem at one point.
Definitely, I see her as a role model. She's very resilient, and she has taught me a lot. And one of the biggest lessons in this, like personally, I like instant gratification, and I can't wait. I'm very impatient, so I'm like, oh, I want to follow my own career. I don't want to do A-levels and stuff like that. But what she has taught me, and what everyone seems to forget, that her journey was a long, long journey. When she was 10, or 9, she started speaking against Taliban. She spoke in so many places again. She was being brave, and she has taught me that it's just, you have to be patient to get where you want to get. And yeah, she's my role model, and I'm lucky to have a role model like her, definitely.
Absolutely. Now, for all three of you, it must be kind of strange because you lived normal lives in Pakistan, then you've come over here and you're all still studying, you boys are at school, Malala's now in Oxford doing PPE, but yet you're well known on the global arena, Malala. Do people come up, do fellow students come up to you in Oxford? Are you treated differently? How does it work day to day?
Well, I think school and college life have been amazing for me because I have been treated as a student, which is what I wanted. And at university as well, all the, I get the same essay deadlines, as everybody else, or I have to do the same essays. The whole interview process, everything at admission was just as any other student would get. And if I don't hand in my essay on time, I get told off and said next time hand it in on time. And but also I think in Oxford we have like amazing students there, so you don't feel kind of different, or everybody's just doing amazing work there. All are extraordinary students who have worked really, really hard and are still doing amazing things. So,
but do they come up and ask for selfies?
Sometimes. Not very often, sometimes.
And what about you boys? Do people all know that you're the brothers of Malala? They must do. Was that strange at first, or is it just everyone's got used to it now? Boring?
No, I mean, when I went to school, I wanted to, I kept it a secret for a while because I wanted to know because I didn't want anyone to be friends with me for the sake of her.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you have to be with people that are positive and that don't want to be friends with you because of certain reasons. But once I found the people, close friends, then, I mean, the word spread, but I didn't care because I'm proud of her. That wasn't, so, that's her.
Yeah. Atul?
What was the question?
So, do people treat you differently because you're Malala's brother at school and so on?
No, not really. In school, I have friends and that's about it.
Yeah.
They don't really see me as Malala's brother or anything like that, so that's kind of good, I guess.
Okay, so that's true equality. That's fantastic. Now, Malala is at Oxford now, and you do describe a moment. There's a recurring sort of theme of tea, because there's a big deal tea making in Pakistan. And there was a moment, you said your happiest moment was when Malala was born, Ziauddin. If you can tell us now about your proudest moment, because it's quite a turning point.
For me?
Yeah, for when...
I thought I'm out of the conversation.
So the proudest moment when Malala was...
Yeah, I have mentioned it in the book, and it's about the tea making and tea. And tea is a very interesting thing, because one of the problems when we came to the UK, Torpeke was searching for the tea leaves, for the proper tea leaves. Because I think that you won't feel offended, but English tea is not a good tea, to be honest. It is really... tea in Pakistan, it's amazing thing and beautiful thing. And then the tea that Torpeke makes, that's amazing, wonderful. The story about my proudest moment is the story about a cup of tea. And it was our second visit to Oxford, LMH. And our family, except Atal, like we four went to LMH and we had meeting with the principal and other staff and tutor. And after the meeting, we went to this big room to have a cup of tea. And I was just standing in that room, and the principal of LMH College, he went towards the tea machine, and he made that English breakfast tea kind of tea. Like putting tea leaves and then hot water and then stirring and milk. And it was prepared. I knew the taste was not good, but the moment. And I was thinking that, okay, when the principal takes his tea, I will take that tea afterwards, and so on. But I was observing that when he filled the cup of tea, he went to the other side of the room, and he handed over the tea to Malala. And it was a moment, the very proudest moment for me. Because I have been teacher for 18 years. So it's very routine thing, like a social norm that children and people have respect for their teachers. But having such a respect from a principal and then from Oxford, LMH, and it moved me into tears because the whole film rewent in my mind that, oh yes, this was the girl who Taliban banned from education, who didn't want her to be reading in a local street school, which I established in the Swat Valley. This was the girl who spoke for 50,000 girls in the Swat Valley. Now she is speaking for 130 million girls. And this was the girl who Taliban wanted to silence once for all. And now she is here in this historical college, like university of the world, LMH. And the principal himself is offering the tea to her. Really, it was a moment in my life, a moment. Also, I never saw men serving tea to girls, to women. Don't tell the principal, okay. I love him so much.
Secret is safe with us. Now, there have been so many questions that people have sent in to be asked, and this is questions for everyone. So whoever would like to take the question, go for it. Okay, so Safina Gudka, age 7, said, when you were 7 years old like me, what was your favorite book?
I read books. I was going to say the exact same thing.
Excuse me?
I don't read books.
Oh my gosh.
The Alchemist is, I'll recommend that.
The Alchemist.
Probably that's the only book you have read.
I wasn't 7, but I read it.
You're a child genius if you are.
For me, I think like when I was 7 in Pakistan, you're only limited to your school textbooks. You're not really encouraged to read books that are outside your course. But I had read like 7 or 8 books, and I was just so proud of myself. For me, it was like reading 100 books. And Alchemist was one of those books that I read then. And it's a really inspiring story. But yeah, I enjoy like non-fiction books, yeah.
I've got a similar question, actually, if you prefer this one. Which 3 books would you take on a desert island? So yours, your father's, and then your mother's to come.
A desert island?
Yeah, this is the thing, yeah.
I wouldn't go there.
Just take your smartphone, it's probably got Wi-Fi now,
Yeah,
you can
get all the books.
Kindle. Ziauddin, this is a question for you. Which you've already answered, actually. It was what did Malala do that made you most proud? Well, you could say that Malala was given the tea, but what did she actually do that made you most proud?
Your question is that, can you say it again, please?
Yeah, so what did Malala do that made you most proud out of everything that she's done?
Yeah, I should say that she makes me proud many times and all the time. She's a good girl. But when I find her close to the people, like very having this empathy and caring, I feel so proud of her. I will tell you one thing, just one story.
Yep.
There is a woman, like she comes to our home off and on, and her daughter, like she reads in a government school, and one day, it's unusual for Malala to go to, I mean, she's very busy, but when that lady asked her that my young daughter wants you to go to her school, and she said yes. So I feel so proud when she's mindful and she loves people and she has this empathy for everybody, irrespective to their social status or anything. So she's a people's girl, to be honest, and I'm so happy for that. Yeah.
That's great. So Callie Gold, age 9, wants to know, what is your motto for life, Malala? It's a tricky one, isn't it?
I think, for me, it's just not one thing that I can say, but there are a few things which I care about, and one is, always being with my family and being grateful to have amazing brothers and amazing mother and father as well, and being part of the family. I really appreciate also. I really appreciate my friends and people around me, and I think it's just so important for us to value it more and to engage with each other, to talk to each other, and to be grateful that we have each other. But also, I'm grateful that I have access to knowledge, access to education. We are in this country where we can walk around freely in peace, and these are the things that are taken for granted because you have lived in this for a long time right now, and you don't appreciate that in many places it's not easy to walk outside on the road and to feel safe. It's not easy to express your views and your opinions. It's not easy to be yourself and to tell that you are an independent person, a woman, and these are the things and these are the aspirations and dreams that you have for your life that you want to fulfill. So just to have these opportunities, I'm just so grateful.
And Alison Jackson wants to know, and any of you can answer this, is it difficult to still have faith in your religion after all that has happened to you and your family?
May I say something?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is a very important question. Like, we believe in Islam, and the problem is that the Islam we know that is so beautiful. And the Islam I have learned from my father, from my teachers, that teaches how to be a good human being, how to be good to how to be respectful to your parents, to your teachers, how to respect your neighbors, love your neighbors. It's love. It is mashallah, subhanallah, alhamdulillah. These are beautiful words of Islam. And every day in our prayers, 5 times, we send 22 times peace on right and left when we end our prayers. So it's all peace. Though some bad guys like Daesh or Boko Haram or Taliban, they have made the beautiful face of Islam ugly with their bad ideologies, their own thinking, whatever and it's all about power and politics, to be honest. So it is disgusting, but it should not dishearten us not to believe in Islam, and it's beautiful. The Islam I believe in is peace, tolerance, love, respect, and diversity.
Yeah.
Diversity.
And the final question of the night, for whoever would like to take it, is from Natasha Readout. And she wants to know, what advice would you give to the educators of children in terms of championing girls and their access to education and jobs?
Can you repeat?
So what advice would you give to the educators of children in terms of championing girls and giving them access to education and jobs?
Yeah, I think girls' education, education is so important for everybody. And as this girl is living in this country, what is her name?
Natasha.
Yeah. So children in UK or in other countries, developed countries, they take education for granted. It should be taken for granted, but they don't value it, many of them. And we see that in many parts of the world, everyday children, they struggle to have an access to school. And I know the power of education, how education transformed me from the person who was living in a patriarchal society, and I was the part of that society. And I have told in this book that when you stand against social taboos which are against the basic human rights, and when you stand for that change, the first person that come across you is you. And then education is the most powerful weapon that breaks the chains of patriarchy. And through education, we unlearn the things we had learned from our ancestors, the bad things, I'll say. So I think that education, especially girls' education, is the most rewarding phenomena that contribute to economy, that contribute to equality, that contribute to social uplift of the society, and that contribute to the overall happiness of our communities. So I think that we have a very good saying in Swat Charbagh that the people of Charbagh say, "Oh God, give me a son, and then I know and my things know." I say that give girls education and then let them fly. Then they will do everything. Then they will do everything. Then they will do everything.
Thank you so much, and on those very wise words, please everyone give a huge round of applause.
Thank you all. Thank you all for coming. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Era manana. Thank you.